Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Rich Dotson, here, my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And Garret Price.
How's it going?
It's going pretty swell. You know, got the Indians in the playoffs getting smoked by the Yankees right now. That's a bummer. I got a presidential debate tonight. A lot going on here in Cleveland, Ohio. Yep. And, of course, the Dynasty Nerds Podcast, where we're talking Week 3 NFL football, where, you know, after 3 weeks, we're about 25% through the fantasy football season.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It is. It goes by quick. But it's a great week to really start, like, evaluating your team, right? You're 0-3. Maybe it's time to blow it up. I've commenced blowing. And it's going okay so far. You know, just trade DeAndre Hopkins for some players. Not finished yet. You know, it's gonna be a long blow, but it's coming along. You know, it's coming along. And after week 3, though, it's like a great way. I mean, do you guys agree? Like, this is like a great time of the year to like commence trading, like weeks 3 through week 6, where you usually get.
Yep.
It's where you get the most value out of your trades. It's where you get to like slight overpays. Like this is where you really hold somebody up against it. Like, there's no off season to wait around for. It's like, oh, I want this player. But okay, pay. Well, that's a slight overpay. Yeah, because you're going for a championship.
Exactly.
Dude, I'm not going to win.
And you can get some people that are unrealistic in their expectations. You know what I mean? So you can actually hit the jackpot and get better picks out of it.
Better picks, yeah. All of a sudden, instead of that being the 8th pick, that's the 4th pick.
Exactly.
And yeah, that feels pretty good. So it's so funny this time of year, though, because we just came off of the end of draft season just a month ago. And it's the time of year where everybody's like super overpaying for picks. And all of a sudden it's like Dalvin Cook for a first. Never. I want my first round pick. You can't have. And then now it's like, I'll give you 4 firsts for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. And that's what it is. This is where you want to capitalize in your dynasty leagues on draft picks in young players. Guys that have not done anything. Guys like Michael Pittman, who just went on IR. Jalen Reagor, who's on IR. Henry Ruggs, kind of a little slower. All these rookie wide receivers that we loved.
Banged up,
except for CeeDee Lamb, because you're not going to buy him. He's on a trade clause. Well. Yeah, he's stud muffin.
Justin Jefferson
looked fantastic.
I got him on the sheet, Matt. I got just for you. I have him and Mike Williams back to back to like even you out.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah.
That was really not cool of you.
Ooh, we have some players that we love. Maybe like Mike Williams going down a little bit. JJ Arcega-Whiteside
gone.
Hey, we'll all attend the funeral because. Deceased.
Gone forever.
Hey, Greg Ward. Hey,
but
Greg
you know
Ward.
what? He had to die so Hakeem Butler could live.
Yeah,
True story.
I guess so.
True story. But before we get into all that, a word from our sponsor. That's right. It's my bookie, guys, gals. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know the NFL season's back. NBA playoffs here, the finals. We're ready to roll, and you can do awesome things at MyBookie, because winning season is back at MyBookie. I don't know about you guys, but for me, a game is 10 times better when I'm putting my money on it. You know what I mean? Get a little action there, get a little juice. You know, I play Dynasty. I might have a little inside information. What inside information? This guy gets 4.2 yards after contact. How does that help you? It doesn't, but I got $50 on it. So MyBookie is a place where you can go in here and you can place your bets. And not only that, with the winning season, you have a good opportunity to make even more money with all their action they got on here. And right now you can double your initial deposit with the promo code NERDS. That's right. Double your initial deposit with the promo code NERDS. I know a lot of people that have already switched over to MyBookie, and they're telling me that they absolutely love it. Right now, they've got a $100,000 super contest for only $10 entry, and they're giving away $5,000 in cash prizes every 4 weeks. You would be crazy not to invest your sports knowledge with that kind of potential return on your investment. $10 to win thousands. You guys should be signing up today. You can sign up at MyBookie. Just use the promo code NERDS and claim your 100% deposit match all the way up to $1,000. That means if you put $100 in, they'll give you another $100. It's an easy way to jumpstart your bankroll. NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball. They've got it all on tap, and it's never too late to get started on your winning season exclusively at MyBookie with the promo code NERDS. So week 3 is in the books. We're about 25% of the way through the season. Next year, that's going to change because we're going to gain an extra week, a little bit more. A little bit more action here. Week 17 championships. Hey.
Cray.
Hey, that's a little crazy, right?
Yes.
Can't wait. Hey, the way these people are getting hurt, we'll be starting We started backup quarterbacks, backup running backs, so whoever's the most depth.
It'll be the backup bowl.
The backup bowl. That's exactly
17. Hey, it's a war of nutrition.
It is.
Week 3 injuries. Let's get at those real quick. Tariq Cohen out for ACL. Another guy goes down with an ACL injury just after that contract extension, so at least he got paid.
Yeah, happy for that.
What do you guys think of David Montgomery right now? We saw that they moved to Nick Foles here, got away from Mitch Trubisky. Will David Montgomery now have the opportunity to be a running back 2 in your guys' eyes? Because when he came out of college, he was known that he had the pass catching chops to catch the football. Now, no Tariq Cohen. This should be a huge boost to his pass catching ability, PPR points. Are we looking for a surge here for David Montgomery? Would you look at it as him? Is this a buying moment, a selling moment?
I mean, personally, he's going to have some sort of uptick, I think. I mean, that was the role that Tariq Cohen was playing, was the pass catching back, and there's no one else on the roster, like you were saying. Ryan Nall's not going to be the guy that's going out of the backfield and catching passes. So you have to think naturally he's going to have some sort of uptick. I don't know that this is like a big go out and run out and buy him, because I still think he's just a marginal player. Mm-hmm. But if you own him, I think you're going to see a slight uptick, and maybe if the situation presents itself, you might be able to sell him for a little bit more than you could a week ago.
He's already looked a little bit better this season than I think he did last year. Looks like he slimmed down a little bit. He's been a little more decisive, not as much of that like jumping back and forth in the hole and not being decisive. He's been a little bit better with that, and we've even seen him make a couple big plays here and there. Still only a low end RB2 at the moment, so I think he bumps into that more like the mid RB2 range. So I think that's kind of what you were saying there, mm-hmm. Matt. So I do think it is a good opportunity if you're able to buy him because of this at the same price you would have last week, then I would do it. But I'm not necessarily paying extra because Cohen's gone.
Yeah, if we're talking draft pick capital, like I'm only selling them for a first. That's the only way I'm going to sell them. So probably be, as a contender, you're talking about mid to late first here at this point.
Yep.
And honestly, like you're almost just better off holding on to Montgomery for the upside and see if Nick Foles can take this offense and actually get the chains moving, and then you'd be utilizing the pass game. So bad news for Cohen, great news for Montgomery owners.
Yep.
Jordan Reed, he's out. Surprise, took him 3 weeks to get hurt.
Shocking.
Not a concussion note.
Not a concussion,
sprain,
yeah.
But 6 to 8 weeks.
So this is another one of those San Francisco 49ers that went down on this turf in the Giants and Jets stadium. And this was a big one, man, 6 to 8 weeks. So
they should fire Adam Gase and their turf.
Exactly. Take your turf guy and go.
Take Adam with you. Roll him up in the turf. Roll him up in there. See his little googly eyes sticking out of there.
Oh my God.
Hi, Adam. So he's out 6 to 8 weeks. Dallas Goedert, another tight end out. He fractured his ankle. So they don't know how long he's going to be out, but it's probably going to be at least 6 weeks.
I'd guess. I mean, it's not like it's like full on like broken, but I mean a fracture. It's a small crack in there. It doesn't sound like he's going to need surgery, so they're just going to just let it heal.
So maybe just 4 weeks.
I was going to say it's open ended. It sounds like.
Yeah.
But, I mean, 4 weeks is pushing up against it, I would imagine, because a lot of the times when you break something, you're in a cast for 4 weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's how long it takes just to get the bone stabilized, and then you have to, rehabilitate your ankle to the point where you can play NFL football. I would think he's out a little bit longer.
I mean, dude,
I'm not a doctor.
4's best case, 10's worst case, probably.
I mean, depends on how it heals. Yeah.
I mean, how mad is Zach Ertz that he didn't get that contract extension? That he's taking out anybody that could possibly catch a football there.
Any pass catchers.
Yeah.
He Tanya Harding him, didn't he?
He did it.
He did.
Oh my God.
Carson Wentz obviously upset. He can't throw the ball to anybody but the other team. Problem is he's doing terrible. So it just, who's left? It's Greg Ward, Zach Ertz.
I mean, I guess Miles Sanders will get an uptick, but even their offensive line has been taking some hits too.
Yeah, Peters went down the other day.
Yeah. Their guard was out. Like,
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's been out.
Well, that's just apparently he actually. So this was the game that he was supposed to like start, and he only got 28 snaps because he was like hurt. Apparently, either that or he just like is just sucking so bad that they
scared of Zach Ertz is what it is.
That's what it is.
Don't throw me the ball. I want to live.
I look too much like a tight end.
Did you see he's gotten 2 targets on the year, and one of them was one that Carson Wentz got picked off.
Oh,
perfect.
That's a way to earn more snaps and more targets.
Chris Carson, MCL sprain. He's week to week. What a dirty, turdy for
low.
play that is. Dude, I saw that as soon as it happened, man, and I was like, that guy's got to go. Like, I'm going to walk. Like, if he was, next time I saw him laying on the ground, I'd walk right up to him and kick him right in the nuts as hard as I could.
I missed it. Did he get?
So basically,
Alligator.
the defensive lineman tackled him by the legs.
Oh, you know what? I did see that.
Yeah.
And he just kept on holding and
just
turning.
alligator rolled it, and
dude,
yeah, that's
dirty,
low.
dirty. No respect for that
No.
whatsoever. I hope he gets a cold sore. I do.
Those things are.
Coming your
funny.
You know,
way.
I know somebody that when they really, really hate someone, after they like boil the hot dogs, they'll freeze the water into ice cubes, and then they'll like put it in people's drinks that they don't like.
Oh, that's cold blooded,
Right?
I don't hate anybody that much. Wow,
Nasty.
that is nasty.
What's wrong with your water?
I know. I never get anything to drink over there.
Foggy. Is it kosher? Might be. Russell Gage, he's got a concussion out there in Atlanta. He's week to week. So just, Calvin Ridley's pace is going to keep on pacing.
Pace is gonna pace.
Pace is going to pace. He's going to be a top 3 wide receiver, it looks like, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a question last week whether or not he was passing Julio as the man. I guess right now he's the man because he's the most nutritious.
He's the most It's a war on nutrition.
It's a war of nutrition, and he's definitely the most nutritious.
Dude, keep Zach Ertz out of that locker room. Deshaun Jackson, he hurts his hamstring. He's questionable. Again, he's on Philadelphia. He's next to
We're not
Zach Ertz.
surprised.
It's not a surprise at all.
Nope.
How is Carson Wentz still the healthy one? That's what I want to know.
Give it time. He's next on the hit list. You'll be seeing Carson Wentz like Billy Madison putting that red lipstick all over his face. Listen to that music. Brian Edwards hurts his ankle. He's expected to play this week. Michael Pittman Jr., compartment syndrome, out 4 to 8 weeks. That's nasty.
So explain that to me.
It's when the blood, like you get hit somewhere so hard and the blood like just sits in a certain spot and then it does something where.
Is it basically like a bruise or something like that just kind of.
But it causes your leg to like swell really badly, but the blood can't go anywhere.
Yes.
So it's really, I mean, there've been some that have been bad enough where they've needed to amputate people's legs because of it. So fortunately they found it quick enough that it sounds like he will be able to play again this season. But I mean, if they hadn't realized it could have been really, really bad news for Michael Pittman Jr.
Well, that sounds serious. It's a good thing that they caught it early and he's getting whatever treatment he needs.
Yeah.
Hey, Moke Alley Cox is now going to finish as a top 6 tight end.
That's another team that's going through him. Campbell's gone. He's gone now. Jack Doyle's been banged up.
Dude, T.Y. Hilton can't catch balls from Phillip Rivers.
No, he can't.
Phillip Rivers can't throw that ball that far.
Nope.
It's ridiculous.
It's all going to be to Hines and Taylor.
Dude, Jonathan Taylor is going to catch. What did Leonard Fournette catch last year? 71?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 72.
There it is.
Because he's better than Leonard Fournette.
Not at tight end, though.
He's definitely not a better tight end.
No. I mean, dude, who does he think he is? Hakeem Butler, Leonard Fournette? Come on, get out of here.
So you guys brought up Jonathan Taylor. I watched a little bit of that game, and I saw him running right into the back of his offensive line quite a few times. Have you guys witnessed this? Are you guys concerned at all about this?
I watched a little bit of that game. I didn't watch a ton of it, but I did turn to that. There were a couple times, and that was honestly as big of a Jonathan Taylor fan as I've been since he went to Indianapolis. That was kind of one of my things I had talked about pre-draft was he's not creative behind the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. He's very much so a guy that is going to stick with the plan. Adrian Peterson's kind of that same mold where this is how the play is designed. This is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to go. Whereas, Dobbins and Swift, they're much more creative and elusive behind the line. They're going to do a little bit more. Jonathan Taylor, if it's blocked well, he's going to hit it, and then he'll break a couple tackles once he gets downfield.
Right.
But he's not going to do a lot beforehand. So that is probably one of the weaker parts of his game.
We mentioned
Clyde
that.
Edwards-Helaire is a guy that's on the opposite end of that spectrum.
Exactly.
I mean, I watched a play on the Monday night game where he should have lost 3 yards, but he managed to eke out gaining a yard, bobbing and weaving through about 4 or 5 guys. So, yeah, they're very different backs. But
We talked about that with Jonathan Taylor pre-draft process. Like, it's not about not what he does after the line of scrimmage. Like you just mentioned before, it's like before the line of scrimmage. Like, does he have it to get? Because he had a really good offensive line there too. He's still a very solid runner, but I gave the comp somewhat. I was somewhat worried like, oh, he's gonna be kind of like that Derrick Henry guy. He's gonna get what's there. Got the speed past the line of scrimmage, but he has to get past the line of scrimmage and then do some. After watching that game, Matt, I did watch that game too, and I came away. I was like, oh man, I just said in the podcast I would trade Saquon Barkley straight up for Jonathan Taylor, but I don't think I would. now.
You're back again.
I'm back again.
Yeah,
I'd rather just sit on Saquon. I'm starting to get the feel for Jonathan Taylor is like he's such a big name right now. I would love to see what I can get with all these like we just mentioned earlier, like it's the best time to trade. Throwing a guy like him out there in this offense, what kind of like savage return could I get for this guy right now?
Oh, you would get
Can I get a super young receiver with a high draft pick and draft a rookie running back? You know, like I would love to float his name out there to see what I can possibly get for return because really solid running back and on a really good team with a good offensive line with no quarterback. They'll have a new quarterback next year, most likely.
And maybe even Easton at some point this year.
He falls back into that category of like, okay, is he like, he reminds me, he's starting to remind me a little bit more of like Derrick Henry, who I feel, again, we all know how I feel about Derrick Henry. It's just, I think Derrick Henry's a fantastic NFL running back and real running back. I don't know if I love him in fantasy football because he's got to score touchdowns to be really contributing to my roster at a championship level.
I will say this though, he has looked just fine in the passing game so far.
Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah.
Oh, he's been
fantastic.
It's saving grace.
Yeah.
It's been.
I don't think he's dropped a single pass yet.
Which is great.
Yep.
It was one of my biggest concerns is his drop rate. Was over 16% and coming out of Wisconsin. He's being utilized in the passing game and he's having success there. I mean, he's no Jerick McKinnon, but he's doing pretty good. So I would just be interested right now for Jonathan Taylor. If you took him, you probably had a high draft pick. The float, like with how many injuries are going out there right now, just to see what kind of return I can get for a guy like Jonathan Taylor. Maybe we could do that trade of like, hey, I'll give you Jonathan Taylor, give me Saquon straight up. Yeah. I'd be willing, if you're rebuilding, it's addition by subtraction. Right now, again, when you're in this rebuild mode, say after week 3, it's good to start making these moves now because it also hurts your team. So you're going to be in a position to get a higher draft pick. The whole team point of blowing it up is so you lose games,
you lose
so you get a higher draft pick.
Get a better pick. Yep.
So any player you're trading away now for like young guys or hurt guys more preferably, like I just traded DeAndre Hopkins away and I got I traded DeAndre Hopkins and Kenyon Drake today and I got Jalen Reagor, Deebo Samuel, a 21 first, and Pat Mahomes. So I felt really good about that.
Yeah.
Because when I needed a quarterback, so I could Pat Mahomes. But then I also loved it because Deebo and Reagor are on IR. So I could put them right down on IR, which is fantastic.
They're not taking up a spot. They're not scoring you points, more importantly, and you get a nice little return.
Give me a position for Bateman, Travis Etienne, Jamar Chase. Like that's what I'm looking at right now. So it's addition by subtraction. I'm getting young, but I'm also going to lose games because we do get to a point here where like you don't want to tank. You can't tank like intentionally, but you can make the moves and put yourself in position to lose.
Yeah. Be strategic about it.
Taxi squads, guys. So you put them on your taxi squad. Yeah, that's where he belongs. So, but this is a great week because you don't want to get ahead too and get some of those fluky wins. Other people get injuries, hurt games. You get one of those. All it takes is one win to put you from the first pick to the third pick, and you don't want to be in that position come draft day. Definitely for how deep this draft class is because 2-1 is going to be pretty sexy as well.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at the first 12 picks, you're going to come away very satisfied. Even now, talking about look how good Pitts looks.
Yeah.
Before,
Kyle Pitts looks fantastic. Brevin Jordan does as well.
Dude, that's a tight end where we're talking about top 6, top 7 credentials here coming in a rookie draft
and
pick.
Pat Freiermuth hasn't even got to play yet.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be a nice draft class. But we have all season talk draft, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Chris Godwin hurt his hamstring. He's week to week. Probably not going to play this week. Another downhill. He's going to be a second game miss out of his 4 weeks. That's going to be half the season. Not good, Chris.
So that's another little bump for Justin Watson or Scotty Miller or somebody like that.
Scotty Miller leading the team out there. Mike Evans only catching touchdowns. That's it. Nothing else. Hey, you want to throw me the ball? It's got to be within 2 yards.
I don't want to have to run far, right?
1 yard line. I'll run over here. You throw it to me. I'll catch it.
The Jerome Bettis version of the wide receiver.
Dude,
awesome.
Little Scotty Miller out of Bowling Green out there, number 1 receiver in Tampa Bay. Who'd have guessed? Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard, Mike Evans. Nope, Scotty Miller.
Scotty
boy.
No, that's Tom Brady.
That is Tom Brady for you, man.
Looking for his little shifty guy. That's all he wants to throw the ball to.
That's what he likes.
And then Devontae Adams is expected to finally play this week, which is good news if you own him. So, also news coming out this week, COVID. You have something to say?
No, we just missed the Deante Johnson concussion. He's also.
Deante Johnson's got a concussion.
Just wanted to mention it.
Juju might catch some footballs because it looks like Deante Johnson's the number 1 guy there.
Yep. And James Washington might be a little bit in the mix. I wouldn't start him unless he was a desperation type.
Yeah, stinks James Washington's there, man, because I really like him. He'd be really good like any team that need a receiver, maybe like the Jets. Like he'd be great to help out Sam Darnold.
Braxton Berrios is out there scoring.
The number 1 receiver for the Jets, Braxton Berrios.
I can't wait for Mims to come back. They need him.
Dude.
Maybe it'd be better for him to just not come back.
Just don't come back.
Just wait till Adam Gase is fired.
Oh, and everybody-
come in mid-season when he's already gone, and they
Dude,
got somebody else running the show.
You shake that page so those Google eyes just fall off. It's just 2 empty slots. All of a sudden, Sam Darnold could see now, and he's throwing touchdowns all over the field. I mean, even Sam Darnold's coming out on TV looking all depressed and like, dude,
He really is.
I'm not even a quality quarterback right now. It's like, oh no, Adam Gase has got his.
He broke him.
You got him. Yep.
Yeah, dude. It's like, dude.
You got Gased.
News coming out here is COVID. We had some Titans players test positive for COVID. So the Vikings had to set out their team today, but then they all tested negative, which is good. They're saying that the Titans can't even come into their building until Saturday.
Yikes.
Yikes.
So there's a possibility that game gets bumped back to Monday. They're going to try to play it on Sunday at the original time, the Steelers and the Titans.
That's not fair.
What kind of impact does that have on you setting your lineup? I mean, me personally, I'm not like relying on any of these players, right?
Titans players?
Yeah.
No.
The Titans or the Steelers, if that game gets bumped for whatever reason, like you're out of luck. You know?
Well, Steelers are fine because they're practicing all week. Look at extra day of practice.
But
if they play.
right,
they play.
But they might not play. That's the whole thing.
Well, I think we'll have clarity than that by, I think for sure. They even came out today and said, no, the NFL wants to play on Sunday for sure. Like they're going to, we'll know.
It stinks
Sunday.
though. I mean, Thursday's coming. Like, what happens if you needed to plug in a guy, off your Thursday? See, that's what they're screwing up everything. I hate these Thursday night
If you're
games.
playing somebody on the Broncos,
I freaking hate them.
If you're playing somebody on the Broncos or the Jets,
You probably lost anyway.
Hey man, I need to get Braxton Berrios in my lineup, man. He's hot now.
come on, Roger. I got BBs over here. Come on, Barrios, number 1. He's a wide receiver 3.
Frank, I know you're 102, but I'm starting you at running back this week. I love you.
They have nobody else to get the ball to. Protect Sam Darnold at all costs. So yeah, I mean, basically all we can do right at this point is just monitor the situation.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get lucky, get 2 Monday night games. It'd be fantastic.
Wouldn't hate
wouldn't
that
it?
part of that.
No, I wouldn't either.
So Nick Foles takes over for Mitch Trubisky here in Chicago, which is, the game starts off. I see Mitch run for a 45-yard
He was
run.
playing
I'm like, looking
decent.
good, Mitch. Mitch looking good. Bears undefeated.
Undefeated,
right?
yeah, going into
Undefeated
it.
Bears.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky, I was bringing back. Can't stop that B&N. Big Nick.
Big
BDN. Sorry.
BDN. Yeah.
Sorry, BDN. So Nick comes in here swinging.
Y'all can figure that out on your own.
Yeah. I was like, being
Garrett,
D.
BD.
Swings that pendulum, just gets that momentum right into the starting lineup. Now he's in the huddle. Of course, he comes in and does what he does, comes off the bench and drives down for a win.
You know what, a pendulum, it always swings back, though. You got to watch out.
He will swing back. Trust me. He
Yep.
always does. So, but, I mean, right now, he does what he does. He came in, got some momentum, looked good. Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller.
I think that's the biggest thing is for a guy like Allen Robinson is just some more consistency for him. Like I think he's the biggest winner out of all this. Like David Montgomery, all this. You know that you can now count on Allen Robinson week in, week out. You already felt like you probably could, but every once in a while you'd have those Trubisky games where he just sucked so bad.
3 catches, 53 yards.
Yeah. But now you know that he'll be getting quality targets each and every week.
And Jimmy Graham had a pretty good game, too.
He
Scored a couple of touchdowns as well, so you might have another guy with some sneaky upside there.
The interesting part, though, is as much as Anthony Miller, we've kind of been talking about him for a long time, Mooney is actually the one that's been getting a higher snap percentage than Anthony Miller has been. So that's definitely something to monitor. They might be switching a little bit there.
Gotcha.
That's definitely something close to monitor because I definitely loved Anthony Miller coming out of Memphis. He was just a fantastic route runner, good hands. Liked what I've seen so far when he's being utilized in Chicago. I'd like to see some more of that.
And he scored this past week.
He scored
as well.
that late touchdown, but he hadn't done anything up to that point because he just hadn't been playing as much.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, so we have some tools here on Chicago, for Nick Foles to throw to. You got David Montgomery, who's a pass catcher running back, Jimmy Graham, they got Cole Kmet, second round pick, and then of course Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson. Robinson's a true number 1.
So I don't have any shares of Cole Kmet, so I haven't been keeping a close eye on him or anything. Has he done anything yet?
Hasn't really gotten to play yet.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So let's move on here to another team, the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Garrett, you said we were talking before about hey, what's their philosophy? For a while, it's been this run first team. Now all of a sudden, it's like, hey, Russ, let it rip.
Yeah, they're letting him cook. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the mantra in the offseason, let Russ cook. And, week 1, it was kind of like, okay, like that was good. Like they came out guns blazing. Will this be Well, it does look like it's actually the trend now. We see 3 straight weeks where they are just primarily a vertical passing offense. And Russell Wilson has freaking 15 touchdown passes in 3 games.
Well, I mean, he is one of the best deep ball throwers in the league. And now he's got, obviously, DK Metcalf is a really great downfield threat. I mean, the guy can box everyone out and uses his body really well and tracks the ball over his shoulder incredibly well. But, I mean, Lockett's another great guy to get downfield. So they've got 2 really good weapons down there that can get down the field. And, you know, you have the threat of the run, which is a great way to set up those deep passes. And they've been hitting them, man. So, I mean, everything's going aces right now. I would imagine, you know, as the weather starts to turn, it's gonna grind down a little bit, and they're gonna try to run the ball a little bit more. But for right now, it isn't broke. So I don't think they're gonna try fixing it. I think this is kind of what they're going with right now.
Yeah, Russ supporting 2 high-end receivers. Lockett's always been fantastic for the last couple of years. Probably one of the better values in Dynasty fantasy football. Kind of falls probably right into that, like going into last year, like that Jarvis Landry, Robert Woods mold, a guy that you can get later who's going to give you high-end wide receiver 2 numbers. Now, even with DK, probably suppressed that a little bit here, but
not at this kind of volume.
All it really does is just open things up a little bit more for him. I mean, look at him. We had a 40-point game almost here. And you mentioned, like, DK Metcalf's a perfect fit for this offense. I think even when we were talking smack about DK and how we didn't love him coming out as a rookie, we mentioned, like, he got, I know, Matt, for you specifically, we put him right to the back end of the first round, like pick 12 right there. And the argument was, like, this is just a really good fit for him altogether. Russ is really accurate, great deep ball, and that's what he does, at least for the most part.
Right.
He's turned into do way more than that because his route running's been
leaps and bounds better than we saw in college, which was a very simple route tree where he was basically running 2 routes. So he's come a long way in that respect, and it shows, man. He's balling out
and quick too. It's one of the players, like we've pooped on, I don't know, a handful of players I think that have turned out to be like pretty decent. I mean, Juju we weren't huge on. He kind of made my ground. Derrick Henry wasn't big on. He came around 3.5 years later. And then DK Metcalf probably has the quickest turnaround right there with Juju. Yeah. But, I mean, at least we see DK, like, arrow continue going up. Like, Juju went up for a year, came back down. Now he's, like...
middling again.
Yeah. And dude, he came out today. It was, like, putting, like, oh, I love Sam Darnold. That's my guy. I wish I could play for him. Oh, but I know we have Ben, and I love Ben, too. But, like, I wouldn't mind playing with Sam Darnold again. He might see the writing on the wall saying, I'm not going to re-sign here in Pittsburgh. Jets, I'll come sign with you here in the future. But that's what I took out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I didn't see this is my initial reaction to that, but that sounds an awful lot like he's trying to get out of town or set himself up for his next home anyway.
That's traditionally what the Steelers do. I mean,
Deante's a new number 1 there in Pittsburgh. And
they got Deante, they got James Washington, they got
Chase Claypool, who has already flashed. Yep. So it'll go Deante Johnson's the man, James Washington's 3, and then Chase Claypool's the number 2, and then all of a sudden Deante's want to get paid. And I'm like, well, who do we want? Chase Claypool or do we want Deante? Just an ever ongoing.
Keep churning them out.
Yeah, and they do a fantastic job of churning them.
And they'll just keep drafting them too. 2 years from now they're gonna use another 3rd round pick on a guy that's gonna hit.
So does this move, going back to the Seahawks, for like a super flex league, Russell Wilson, is he the number 3 overall quarterback, or here's a question: Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. Right?
That's a really tough one.
I mean, obviously you're getting a lot of years with Kyler Murray, so that's a lot. It's a big bonus. It's a big bonus and a big draw, but at the same time, it's not like the floor is about to bottom out on Russell Wilson. He's probably got another 5, 7 years, 10 maybe if he stays incredibly healthy. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards Russell Wilson. You know what you're going to get with that guy.
I want to take Kyler, but at this point, Russell's just been too good. He's forced your hand. I mean, honestly, it could be a conversation of him, Mahomes. I'm still taking Mahomes, but Russell Wilson has been a top 6 quarterback every single year on a run-first team. I don't think this is a run-first team anymore. To be clear, I'm absolutely still taking Mahomes, but I might take Russell over Lamar, honestly.
I don't think you're crazy there.
That's fair, because if you're looking at, here's the thing with Lamar as I look at in Superflex and why I would kind of slightly bump him down, because if you are looking for that rushing quarterback, why not just take Kyler Murray? at that point. Instead of paying the Lamar Jackson price why don't you just take a slight dip and take Kyler Murray, who's way more accurate and's got a better arm, who is just as mobile and elusive, definitely around the goal line. Yep. So, yeah, I see that. I wouldn't mind taking Russell Wilson ahead of Lamar Jackson. More so just not put myself in and take a Lamar Jackson, I guess. Yeah. Where he would go in a Superflex league, which is 1-2. I'm going to get into my Superflex ranks this week, and I definitely got to give Russ a massive bump. Because, we're talking bumps ahead of, he's in that Josh Jacobs territory. Do I just take Russ here, or I take the running back? Because Russell, he's that good. You're right. He's that good. 15 touchdowns in 3 games.
Crazy. 5 a game.
And they have DK Metcalf for at least another 2 years. Lockett, they have for another couple. This is not anything that's going anywhere.
And the thing is, their secondary is decimated. They keep losing players left and right, and that's
great for the offense.
Which is going to be great for Russell Wilson because he's just going to have to keep throwing the ball and keep chucking it down the field and keep having to score points over and over again. So it's a really nice setup for your fantasy team to have him in your starting lineup at this point.
So Russ Wilson right now, Superflex for all of us, we say is 2B, 2A. Kind of how you want it. Depends.
He's right up there, man.
Yep. What's the best bang for your buck? Because you probably get Russ at the very top end of the second round in a startup. But in a trade right now, so do you think, going back to that, if you had, say you're in a Superflex league, right? You have Lamar Jackson. Do you think you could flip him right now? It's a bad time after
throwing for 97 yards or whatever he threw for. Yeah.
But still, the intrigue of Lamar Jackson coming up one of the best all-time fantasy scores in the history of fantasy football doesn't help that he just, didn't do good against the Chiefs. So maybe wait a week on this. But do you think you trade Lamar Jackson for Russell Wilson plus? With the youth, you're trading for the youth. Maybe. Do you think you can get plus? Because if a month ago you can get Russell Wilson in a first.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't have any Lamar Jackson shares. I don't have him on any teams. I've never been crazy high on him. So I would have been thrilled to do that. I don't know that you'll get if you get a plus, it's you get a third. I don't think you're going to get much of a plus.
A third's a third.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I don't think it's a much of a plus, if anything.
So now, if you're on the opposite end of that, do you even do do you even do that? You're I'll just stay with Lamar and the youth.
I feel like right now it would be a bad time to pull that trade if you had Lamar.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You wait for Russ to cool and for
him to have
a couple better games than right now.
Then you're I'm not trading Lamar Jackson. He's on fire.
Way.
He's rushed for 150 yards. Get out of here. All right, moving on. James Robinson, Jacksonville, undrafted free agent that could. Garret tweeted about him back in what was this last year, at the beginning of the football season?
Yeah, it was September, October of last year.
Looks good so far. Had a monster game over 30 points. Looks absolutely fantastic out there. But
he's the number 5. He's the number 5 running back right now in PPR.
Well, when you have a 30-point game, it really helps the cause.
Well, and a 21-point game before that. So.
I already tweet out. I totally take back my statement on I would take a second for him immediately.
I had forgotten that you had him in a couple leagues. I really wish on the air last week I would have been all right, James Robinson for a second, because I would have done it because I was talking about it on the show. I was I would do that. I would take James Robinson on a contender, and I totally forgot you had him, and now I can't do it. I tried after the fact.
Hey, you have the right. It's about buy and sell moments, right?
The right time.
Those windows shut quick.
A week and a half ago, I'm I'll take a second for James Robinson in the Superflex league. Now I'm whoa. This guy's the 5th overall running back in the league.
I will take your Lamar Jackson. Thank you very much.
So, is James Robinson in Jacksonville for the next #2 to 3 year window, or is this it? Is this the James Robinson show for 2020? It's a crazy year. Let's take it for what it is, and this is it.
It's wacky. It's wild.
It's James Robinson.
Robinson.
James Robinson. Waka waka waka. So that's what the debate is, because if it's #2 to 3 year window, this is just a hold.
Right.
If it's for this year, are we selling now for a first?
I think this is Chris Carson all over again. It's a late round guy. Well, actually a no round guy. He was undrafted. That just overly impressed in camp, and they were let's start him week 1. Let's see what happens.
Let's get rid of this former first-round draft pick who was performing well last year.
Number 4 overall pick.
And usher in this guy.
And I honestly think it's a very, very similar situation to that. And I think we saw the mold with Miami this year. Everybody, myself included, was convinced that they're going to take J.K. Dobbins or they're going to take, Cam Akers. Or they're going to take one of these running backs. They have so many picks. Why wouldn't they take a talented running back? Nope. They loaded up on defense. They loaded up on offensive line. And if the Jaguars were smart, that's probably what they're going to do as well. They're going to, especially if Gardner Minshew wins a couple more games, they're going to say, okay, let's get him better offensive linemen. Let's get a better defense. Running back should really be one of your last priorities in a rebuild type of situation on a real NFL team.
They're plug and play. Yeah.
Exactly. So if they're doing things right, James Robinson's probably safe, assuming he can continue to be a top 24 guy.
Yep. And they have Chris Thompson there. They're not utilizing him all that much either. So it's mostly the James Robinson show.
Yeah.
So I don't see why they would go away from that at this point. And I think he's at the very least, he's a hold right now, for sure.
I think Jacksonville will win enough games where they won't have a top 3 pick. They'll be out of the Trevor Lawrence race, probably out of Justin Fields race here. And, I mean, dude, honestly, how good Minshew's looked, I don't think quarterback is their priority whatsoever. I think you're right. I think they should focus on defense, offensive linemen, really deep offensive lineman class next year. Don't know much about the defense yet. But this is a team, I think, that lucked out. They have a running back they can rely on, and they have a quarterback now that they can trust. They have DJ Shark there. Use free agency. They should have a ton of money going into next year, and then use all those draft picks they have and build the defense and offensive line. I think Minshew is the answer there in Jacksonville. So in Superflex League, if you got him, that's great news. And I'm kind of leaning with you guys where James Robinson now might just be this the total definition of hashtag 2 to 3 year window, or he's running back 5 now. He might finish the season as like running back 9, 10, somewhere around there, mostly because a lot of players got hurt. So that'll be his 1 year he finishes as running back 1. Next year, he might finish as like a mid-range back end running back 2,
16,
like that. And then he's just kind of like out the wayside. So I would use that information for my team and go from there, because I'd have right now, if you want James Robinson, I need a first.
Right. Because that information right there means something different to everybody's team. You know, if you're a contender, you're like, yeah, I'm going to hold this guy. I'm going to ride this thing out. If you're not, you're like, is now the right time? Can I get it? Like it all depends league to league what you can get for this guy right now. And if you can't get that first, then just hold out. Wait till somebody's desperate a little bit down the road when another injury happens.
Because they will.
Yeah, because they will. They're going to keep coming.
And your argument is, I'm selling you a running back 1. Like you're getting a running back 1. You're a championship contender. Your first, you always, when you sell these, you always do the upsell. Like your first is probably going to be pick 12. You say that right away.
You're so good at this. You're such a talented owner.
Dude, your team's the best team already. So it's probably, like your team's so good, it might be pick 13. That's,
right.
That's how far you might win. So, like, I'm basically getting a second for James Robinson. You're basically giving me a second because you're like 1 pick in front of me.
Right.
That's the second round. So I need a first, my man. You're like, yeah, you're right. I am basically giving you a second because I am going to win it all. And you're like, yes, you are.
Your 5th best team.
and you literally just hit the guy you got off the waiver wire or the 4th, 5th, 6th round of your rookie draft and just convert that in 6 months into a first round pick.
Now, I will say this, though. I still don't think necessarily, even though I was on, team hold on to James Robinson, for these past couple weeks, I still don't think that selling him last week or the week before that for a second was necessarily a bad move. It was still a net gain for you. You got somebody off the waiver wire into a second round pick. Now, could you have held a little longer and gotten more? Sure, that would be fantastic. But it's still not like you lost anything. You went from nothing to a second round pick. So I still don't think it was bad. It was just you could have done even more.
Yeah, it's like you bought a stock for $10 and you sold it at $70, and then a week later it goes to $100. Like, oh, right. I missed out on that $30. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but you still got a second round pick for a guy you got off the waiver wire or the 6th round. So it's still, like you said, it's doing Dynasty right, which is all you can do. It's still a good move.
That's still the right process over results. That is still the right process 9 times out of 10, and you just have to figure out what that other, 1 out of 10 is. But 9 times out of 10, that's the right move.
In addition, by subtraction, you got a player that it's going to produce in your lineup when your team you don't want to produce. Because it is in Dynasty. There's times you have to know that you don't want to produce. Like if you're not going for the ship, you don't want to win games.
Right.
You want to put the best lineup you want out there, but you don't want to win games. That's why I have no problem trading for guys that are on IR, making moves for Saquon Barkley, making guys that are on IR that could help me next year. Like maybe a dual package of like a Michael Pittman and a Jalen Reagor, or these two guys are in IR for one healthy guy. Like I'll give you James Robinson my second, you give me Reagor, or not even that, I'll give you James Robinson straight up because these are the moves you can make. Like, hey, I'll give you James Robinson, you give me Jalen Reagor. You're like, I need a running back and Reagor's hurt, he's not helping me anyways. I'm winning out. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Yep. These are the moves you make. You grab these first round picks that were just first round picks and guys we love as rookies that need a couple of years, and you trade all these hot names that are going right now. Even like a guy like Jerick McKinnon, who I love to death, but like I say he's going to be a top 16 running back. He's on pace to be a top 16 running back. If you can turn that into a young guy who has no injury history, that's doing Dynasty right.
Yep.
So, Garrett, next segment. Move us into it.
So we're going to look at a list of players here, specifically running backs and wide receivers. And I want you guys to tell me if they're a buy, if they're a sell, or if they're a hold. Now, I tried to pick guys that have either performed maybe a little bit better than expected or a little bit worse than expected. So I'm curious to see where you're at with some of these guys. Some of them are real big names. Actually, most of them are bigger end names. So let's start right away with the current running back one. Had his own version of beast mode a couple nights ago. And that's Alvin Kamara, the RB1 right now. Are you trying to buy him? Are you trying to sell him? Or are you just holding?
Well, I'm definitely not buying because I'll never, ever pay the price tag for a running back, any running back in the league, for what it would cost to get Alvin Kamara right now. Yep. It's just, what we see now is why you don't. It's why I've been preaching for literally 6 years in this podcast. I draft running backs. I trade for young receivers because that's how I do it. Because I could, like you mentioned before, plug and play in Jacksonville, plug and play in my Dynasty team. You know what I mean? I can get James Robinson, plug and play him for a 1/100th of the cost it would have cost for Alvin Kamara. Now, when you get Alvin Kamara, it's great. But these are the kind of running backs, if you're not, like, those are for contenders and contenders only, right? I'm not buying them. If I have them and I'm a contender, I'm certainly not selling them unless I'm rebuilding and I'm taking a farm for him. So to me, he's a hold.
He's a hold. Everyone that's got him right now has got him in a fairly competitive situation, I would imagine. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, you're not going to sell him. I mean, if for whatever reason it could happen. There's been so many injuries. If your entire team's decimated, but it was kind of old to begin with, and maybe this was your one piece that you could sell off at this point, I would see what I can get for him. You know what I mean? In that one scenario, I could see him being a sell. But that other than that, you're holding.
But in a vacuum,
yeah,
more
absolutely.
of a hold.
Definitely more of a hold.
If you do sell, like, you're flipping for a Saquon Barkley. You're flipping for, and then what's the point, right? Like, for me right now, if I'm doing this move and somebody lost like Saquon, I'm like, I want Saquon in your first for Kamara. Like, I'm pulling that kind of maneuver. That's where his price tag is now.
Yeah.
You have Christian McCaffrey. You need him to come back. Give me Christian McCaffrey straight up.
Yep.
Like for Alvin Kamara. But even then, what's the point? Like, what's the point?
Really,
especially with
really
McCaffrey since he's coming back.
Yeah, really hold their feet to the fire, so to speak.
And then you're flipping. Like, you'd only be doing so you lose, like we mentioned before, you're taking L's for 6 weeks over McCaffrey. Because, again, Kamara comes down. He just signed this long-term contract. It's not the player. It's the system he's in. Mm-hmm. And the system he's in will always utilize his skill set. I mean, look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees is not the Drew Brees of old. So people are like, oh, well, I'm worried about Drew Brees. The next quarterback comes in. The next quarterback comes in will be just fine for Kamara because he's going to be willing to Justin Herbert and whatnot and dumping plays off to Alvin Kamara. And he'll still be utilized the way he's utilized in the run game. So Alvin Kamara is right where he was, a top 4 play at running back. If I would take him before we were close on Kamara and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think Kamara has shown us right now that he's Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
He's been playing fantastic.
So absolutely. it comes down to after. So Barkley or Kamara? Long-term Dynasty, not just this year. Like
long-term Barkley.
Barkley, right?
Yeah, Barkley.
Okay. So it's still McCaffrey and Barkley. 3, Zeke or Kamara? PPR league.
Zeke.
I definitely think Zeke's a better running back. How about that?
That's fine. That's fine. Fantasy football aspect. It's close though, right?
It is very close.
It's close. It's a lot closer
I
than
think
it
it's
was
super
3
close.
weeks ago.
I just think that there's more of a chance of there being a big change in the Saints offense with Breeze leaving than there is Dak leaving, which, I mean, could happen as well. But I think that offense is pretty well cemented with all of the pieces there for the foreseeable future.
All right, next.
All right, let's move down a couple spots. Nick Chubb, RB8. Are you buying, are you selling, or are you holding?
Again, I'm not paying the price tag.
I'm not paying the price. I'm not selling either. I think that's foolish. I think he's such a young and talented running back that you're not going to want to get rid of him at this point. So, I mean, this is another one of these guys that's a classic hold, just for a lot of the same reasons that you just described with Alvin Kamara, really. So I'm going to hold on to Nick Chubb.
I'm going to say as being a Cleveland Browns fan and watching every second of them play, it's an absolute privilege to watch every second of this guy run. He's one of the best running backs I've seen in a long time. When it comes to a pure running back, I'm not about fantasy. I'm talking about pure running back.
Not talking about receiving. We're just talking about being a running back.
And the thing with Chubb, too, which kind of sucks with Hunt here, is he catches the ball really well.
Yeah.
Like whenever they throw in the ball, and
underrated.
he catches the ball well. The fact that him and Hunt are in the top 15 of rushers in the league is fantastic. And the big thing here is that now we see the offense that Cleveland's going to run. And we were really worried about Hunt coming in here and kind of really trolling Nick Chubb and taking it away and not being the guy. No, Nick Chubb's just too talented.
So far his volume is exactly the same as it was last year. Like his volume isn't any different. They're just committing to the run more, and they're doing it more effectively than they were last year. So, I mean, his amount of touches have not gone down.
Well, getting back to that point about them committing to the run, I mean, they were getting stuffed early in the game, and they just kept running the ball. They kept running the ball, and as that game wore on, they started wearing
bigger chunks.
Yeah, they just started wearing them down and breaking off big chunk plays, and both those guys benefit from that kind of action.
We're going to look for that to continue, and both of them will benefit as borderline running back ones. You have two running back ones. I start Hunt week in, week out in my fantasy leagues. I have him. He's a weekly start for me.
As you should.
Double-digit points every single week. Absolutely love it. I think the buying window for Nick Chubb was right when they signed Kareem Hunt to that extension.
Yep.
That window is locked tight again. This is not the time to buy any running backs unless you're going into it willing to know you're going to overpay.
Right.
Which is what you might have to do to win championships. Again, it's about winning titles, not winning trades.
Yep.
That's my slogan. I'm sticking to it. Win titles, not trades. So if you got to overpay for the running back, you do it, but just know that for me personally, once this offseason's over, I'm looking to try and regain some of that as soon as I possibly can. Because I don't want to be, I'm using that to win a championship, but afterwards I'm trying to regain some of that value because, again, running backs are too fluid for me. Like this season, just like any other season, confirms that for me. It will always be the most fluid piece of my roster forever and ever as I play Dynasty. It's going to be the running back position. So I have no buying one of these big running backs now, and because they stay healthy, I should have no problem selling these running backs at the end of the year when somebody needs a running back, and then identify one of these young running backs that I want to trade for, like a Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Chuba Hubbard, somewhere along those
looked
guys.
really good so far.
You're just basically like the parent that tells the kids when they bring in a straight, don't name it because it's not staying.
No,
it's not staying.
He's my running back one. I said don't name him.
Don't name him.
You call him Nicholas for now. Next.
All right. We looked kind of foolish because we talked about this guy being completely washed, and then week 1 looked fantastic, but weeks 2 and 3 have been a little bit more rough. David Johnson is currently running back 21. Buy, sell, hold.
Right where I was before the season. Sell. Right after week 1, we sell. We're like, oh, maybe we could be wrong, but we're like, nope, still sell. Right? We still get. Sell. Now
the floor is going to drop out of David Johnson at some point here. The injury bug is out there. He just hasn't caught it yet. All right. I mean, go out and sell this guy now while you can. He's finally regained a little bit of his value. So go ahead and make that move.
21 first all day, every day. Get that first. Somebody out there. Listen, not somebody. Everybody out there needs a running back. Everybody. Even in spots where like I have 3 really good running backs, I'm like thinking about making a move. I'm like, no, I'm gonna need that guy.
Bye weeks are coming, injuries are coming.
I'm not selling any. I need the depth. So for David Johnson, there's somebody in your league right now, guaranteed, that's willing to pay for that first for 20. David Johnson. Look at this right now, healthy as can be. Had a huge week 1. What running back is he, Garrett?
21.
He's no Jerick. He is no Jerick McKinnon. I'm telling you that right now. Knew that beforehand. Didn't even need these balls. Look, not even pulling them out. Magical in my pants. Garrett, next one.
We were going to talk about David Montgomery, but we already touched on him, so we don't need to go over that again. Joe Mixon, currently running back 38. Buy, hold, sell. Joe Mixon.
Well, I told you a year ago that I was worried about Joe Mixon, right?
Yeah, but what'd you tell me this year?
Thought it was going to be fantastic, but I cursed him because I traded for him. In my long-term dynasty league, where I'm cursed.
You did this.
I did this. I heard Saquon Barkley, and I heard Joe Mixon. I went all in on both of them.
Broke them.
And they broke me. Thank you so much, Joe. We thought offensive line would be a little bit better, and
hasn't so far.
They're not. They're really not.
I think what's weird though is they're not using him in the passing game. They're using
all.
Gio Bernard. To be fair, Gio's looked fantastic in the passing game when they are using him.
He's done just fine.
He's done better than fine. He's looked great.
He's done just fine.
I think he's looked great. He's had some big time plays.
Most of them haven't been that big.
Okay, he's looked fine.
I was going to let y'all figure that one out, man. I haven't watched enough of Cincinnati.
I've seen a couple people literally make cut-ups of like Joe Mixon's catches versus Gio Bernard's catches. And Joe Mixon makes like 2 guys miss and gets like 8 yards. And then Gio Bernard like kind of makes 1 guy miss and trips up and falls. Like
Joe Mixon, I think the reason I said it is
Gio's been fine.
He's had a couple big time plays and like third downs.
He has.
So that's why. But
yep.
They're not utilizing. They give him this big contract and they're still not utilizing him in this offense the way he needs to be. Now, he came on strong in the second half last year.
Correct.
Is that the case again going forward? Because now he's had a tougher schedule earlier on.
He has.
It's going to get a little bit easier for him. Is Joe Mixon a buy?
The hard part is...
See, I'm flipping a question.
Nice flip there. The hard part is as a semi Joe Mixon truther.
Yes, you are.
No, I know.
Just go ahead.
I kind of got forced into it here, but I'll say I'm in the group as a Joe Mixon truther. Joe Mixon truthers aren't selling Joe Mixon low.
No.
So that's the hard part is to buy him. You're still paying roughly the same price you paid before the season started. And that's the difficult part is I just don't know if you really can buy him low. So at this point, I don't think he's a sell because you're not getting nearly what he's actually worth.
Definitely not a sell.
So I think he's just a classic, like, dang it, I got to ride it out. And hopefully within these next couple of weeks, he looks a lot better.
I think that's a perfect analysis. There's no way you're selling him right now. At 38, you're going to get pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Well, if you think that's perfect analysis, listen to this.
Oh,
I think it's a terrible time to sell because the market's too low for him, and you could probably just get what you were going to get beforehand anyways.
That's really astute.
Yeah,
Did you call me?
This is a war on nutrition.
You're astute, okay?
you had carrots for dinner, didn't you?
I sure did.
Yeah, you did.
Wait, those are orange. I eat more greenery. As in green vegetables.
Yes.
I'm not Josh Gordon.
Greenery.
Hey, quite down, Stu. Hey, okay? Now who's astute? You are
me.
Stutey. Yeah.
Yes, I am astute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pussyfoot Stute. Move on to the next question, Stutey.
Stooty patooty.
All right.
Stutey Patooty.
My wife does say I have a good patootie. But Keenan Allen, wide receiver 7. Are we buying, holding, or selling Keenan Allen at wide receiver 7?
Wide receiver. So at that price, I would.
He just came off a 19 target game.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Mike Williams is banged up.
Mike Williams is banged up. He's got the hammy. Yep.
If I can get wide receiver 7 return price, I'm selling.
Let's say you can get like that fringe where he was in the beginning of the season. So like high end wide receiver 2, maybe, high end wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1.
If I'm not a legit contender, my move here is I'm trading for one of the young receivers I like and they're first. That's my move. Like I'm getting who do I like? Can I get Justin Jefferson?
Last week you could have.
After last week, I can't get that, right? But can I get Henry Ruggs in a first? Can I get Michael Pittman in a first?
Denzel
Mims in a first. Can I get Jalen Reagor in a first? So I think my main targets here would be like the top end of those guys, though. Like Justin Jefferson, not now, but like Jalen Reagor, who's on IR, I think would be a good buy. In
Jerry
a first
Jeudy.
for Keenan Allen. Jerry Jeudy in a first would be a good buy here. I'm looking at like those kind of guys. Henry Ruggs in a first. Like those are the three guys that I'm looking at personally.
So you're selling. It sounds
At wide receiver 7 overall price. Because I do think, and it's the thing, Keenan Allen's just a solid receiver. I think he's more back end wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 13, right around there. When it's all said and done, when everything comes together healthy, not in the 2020 season, because even we saw last year in the second half, he took that big fade after starting off hot. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for that kind of model of Keenan Allen. Great receiver. Again, I'm only selling for that wide receiver 7 kind of price range. Then get back a young guy and a first, and build on top of.
It's a great sell. Yeah.
So if I'm a rebuild, again, if I'm a contender, none of these guys are pretty high numbers. You don't sell any of these guys ever. You ride it out and go for the title. Let's make that very clear. So anytime we say sell a guy to this, it's literally middle of the road rebuild. Use the Dynasty GM tool to see where you stand. Okay, we have the contender win now ranks. We have the overall Dynasty ranks. See where you are at.
Yep,
I'm with you there.
Nerd, hashtag Garret.
Hashtag Garret.
Hashtag Garret.
Let's head on over to Cincinnati and Tyler Boyd, who is currently wide receiver 13 on the season.
Where's AJ Green?
Not 13.
Add a couple zeros.
I think he's like in the 60s, 70s. He's not doing super hot.
So you're saying that Tyler Boyd's scoring more points than him fantasy-wise?
Hey-oh!
Somebody's bold predictions coming true.
Dude, a lot of bold predictions look pretty good right now, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go back and listen to that episode.
Yep.
Jerk McKinnon. Listen to my last 3 years. I am buying Tyler Boyd.
So am I. I think you can get him at a reduced price. I don't think anyone out there is looking for
wide receiver 13.
Wide receiver 13 type of price for him.
And you're talking, I think going forward, you're looking now. The only thing you have to say to worry yourself about Tyler Boyd long term is T. Higgins, right?
Yep.
So that's the counterpoint. Does Tyler Boyd slide into wide
The same
receiver
role he's
2,
been in.
same role? But when you're looking at it, same role with Joe Burrow there. This offense doesn't go where we think it can go with Joe Burrow, who
He's looked so good.
he's looked so good.
It's a Sean McVay type of offense. They're easily able to have 3 guys there operating in the wide receiver core that are all valuable fantasy wise. Yep. So does he? I mean, for me, he's sliding almost into a Robert Woods type of role. So
Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Way to go. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of exactly. This is where I was going with. Like this offense could support 2 guys here. And Tyler Boyd's shown if you're willing to like pay that price of getting a guy who's like wide receiver 15, year in, year out, right? Somebody who's like a Jarvis Landry, essentially. A young Jarvis Landry, essentially, one of those kind of players that you can get that might, with the right kind of year, slip into that borderline wide receiver 1 until T. Higgins steps up in his game a little bit more, which probably won't take too much longer here. AJ Green's not coming back to Cincinnati.
No, he might not be coming back to anywhere.
So I'm buying Tyler Boyd, depending on the price. I mean, depends how much the owner himself loves Tyler Boyd and what team you're going for. But I think at this point right now, like if you bought Tyler Boyd for a late first, I think that's fair. I don't want to pay that price, but if I can give him a player and a second, I'd feel much better about that. Like maybe a player that can help him or an upside rookie. I'd rather do that move, but I'm buying Tyler Boyd. I don't want to give my first, depending on my team. If I'm win now and I need help at receiver, and that's the best I could do at receiver, I'm okay with that because I like Tyler Boyd long-term dynasty value here.
Still fairly young
in this offense. Does he stay there in Cincinnati? I see him as the kind of player that can work out a deal where he's not breaking the bank, making $10, $11 million a year in Cincinnati, stay there with Joe Burrow, get the deal done after they let AJ Green walk. The deal is kind of up in the air too, so there's some risk there. But I don't think you have to pay a first for Tyler Boyd.
No, they signed Tyler Boyd last year. So he's on a deal.
Oh, they did sign Tyler Boyd.
They like him. He's there for the long run.
I forgot he did sign that deal long term. Yeah, I have no problem paying a late first for Tyler Boyd, which I think, which I don't think you would. Do you guys think you would have to pay a late first for Tyler Boyd right now?
I think you would. I don't think a second would get it done.
Definitely would. It'd have to be a second and a player.
Yeah, second and a player, a couple seconds or something. But
do you start there? Do you offer a second and maybe like right now everybody needs running back help? There's a running back on your team that you don't.
Darrell Henderson.
Like Darrell Henderson looked pretty good last week.
He did look good.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of somebody in that range that like might be actually appealing.
Sure.
But
James Robinson?
David.
I let it.
So David Johnson straight up for Tyler Boyd might get it done.
I mean,
If it's a true contender that's desperate for a running back and Boyd's their fourth receiver, which could absolutely be true on some teams.
But David Johnson in a second would for sure get it done.
Yep.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
That's what. So David Johnson, second running back like that. I don't. Maybe Kenyon Drake straight up for a guy like Tyler Boyd.
That's a good name. That's a good name.
I'm thinking of like running backs here that I'd be willing to flip. That's what I'm trying to move instead of my first. Right. I'm trying to keep my first in this 21 deep class. Move him, get a guy like Tyler Boyd. But I'm buying Tyler Boyd player for player or second plus is what I'm looking at.
All right, two more guys. Mike Evans, wide receiver, 19. Buy, hold, sell. Mike Evans at 19.
I don't think I'm going to sell him now. He's way down on the list there at 19, and he's bound to have one of these crazy 40-point games or something like that. It's going to boost him up into that wide receiver 1 range. So personally, I'm definitely not selling him this low. So you're either going to hold him. Or, that number might make him a borderline buy. You know what I mean? He's not getting a ton of volume, which is kind of tricky. But I think Tom Brady is definitely skilled enough at quarterback that he's going to get him involved, especially in the red zone and stuff like that. So I think he's going to have a fairly consistent day of it going forward. So I would buy him.
He's a hold for me. I think buy right now. You're still not. I mean, depending on the price tag.
Like, yeah, right.
I mean, if I just had to give a first and second for Mike Evans, I'd do that. That's all it costs me, but that's about as much as I'm going. I'm not giving up 2 firsts for Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin there. Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a hold. I'm definitely not selling Mike Evans at this point, but yeah, he's a hold for me.
It would depend on the situation for me. I think I could end up running the gamut depending on my situation. If I'm a contender and I could really use that super, super solid wide receiver 2, then I would love to buy Mike Evans. If I'm leaning towards being a rebuilding team, I think he's a guy that still has enough volume that I am worried that at some point just the wheels could fall off. Brady could be not there anymore. He could, slow down.
We talked about it a lot in the offseason about Mike Evans being a sell in the offseason. We said, hey, this is a good time this summer to sell Mike Evans. Still top 10 wide receiver name out there. Still produces young enough, but he's got the body and skill set that will drop off the cliff pretty quickly. So that was that window there.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're selling
it's
right now,
all about the situation for me is where I would be at with him.
I think it's where everybody is after week 3 in the season. Like, what's your situation? But at the same time, you don't want to sell Mike Evans low either. Like, just because you're in rebuild mode, I would just wait.
I don't think you'd be selling him too low. I mean, he literally had 2 touchdowns this week. Now, granted, he also had 2 yards.
Yeah, so so if somebody's coming with that argument saying, "Well, dude, I can't pay that price. He's only got this many yards. He's wide receiver 19." It's like, come on, dude. This is week 3. Tom Brady, new team, COVID. Come on.
2 out of 3 games, he's only gotten 2 yards. He got 2 yards in week 1, 2 yards in week 3.
Limited with the hamstring.
But he's got 3 or 4 touchdowns?
4.
4, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about 2 firsts.
That's going to be his thing.
It's going to be his thing.
I said I would pay the first and second. I wouldn't pay more than that. But he's a 2 first minimum return guy. You know what I mean? So it's like that's where the hang up is for me. Like, I'm not buying him for 2 firsts, but I would sell him.
It might be a good target of like a young receiver like in a first. Like, give me T. Higgins in a first.
But even that, man, like those are trades like for me personally playing Dynasty, like I hate to make. Like I hate trading like a guy like Mike Evans for just 2 firsts. Like I'm sitting there trading a guy who's top 12 at his position in fantasy for just 2 random lucky draws at the draft. Now, granted, if you hit, it's great, but still, it's 2 lucky draws you're going for over a for sure thing. It's that,
or you have to look at what's going to be 2 years down the line. What if he does fall off the cliff and you can't get anything?
It's a big game with us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just him specifically is the kind of player sometimes when we're just talking 2 firsts, it's like I'd rather just sit on it's been on your team forever. But like for a guy like Mike Evans, again, I don't want your 2 firsts. I want the player that I like already, like Rhaegar in a first. You know what I mean? Like I don't want the 2 firsts. I want a player that I like and first. It can be any rookie. Because even now you're talking Justin Jefferson, right? Like you love Justin Jefferson. It doesn't matter that he had that big game. You can get Justin Jefferson and a first from Mike Evans. Yeah. You should be able to.
I think so.
Contender. So That's the move I'm making. I'm not taking like the two. I don't like those trades for those kind of players where I'm just taking draft picks back because then all the risk is in my court. You know what I mean? Like I don't like doing that for a player that doesn't matter how good I am at scouting rookies. It's still a risk.
Yep.
So last guy.
Last but not least, DJ Moore, wide receiver 28 currently.
Bye. What a
Justin
window.
Timberlake, look at you.
Yeah, one more buy. Where's my dance? Shimmy, shake. No, this is a great opportunity for by DJ Moore, a 23-year-old dynamic route runner in the Joe Brady offense with Matt Rule, who has Teddy Bridgewater there in the offense. Just lost Christian McCaffrey, kind of struggling there. Still seeing the targets. More of it going to Robbie Anderson, but DJ Moore still the guy here. This is a tremendous buy window for DJ Moore. The only problem with that is I've seen on Twitter. People are like, "Oh, this is a great buy." Like all the dynasty analysts.
Most people,
everyone sees it. Yeah, everyone sees it as
exactly.
that.
Everybody's saying this is a great buy window for DJ Moore, which makes all the DJ Moore owners going,
I'm
holding for the same cost. And here's the advice: don't sell. Don't be a DJ Moore seller. Don't do it.
Right.
Hold on to him.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Obviously, if you have him, you're holding him. I mean, he's down. His market's depressed right now. But if for whatever reason you don't have him and the guy is interested in moving him, he's definitely a buy in my book.
Well, and this is a situation that I love because DJ Moore is actually 9th in yards. He just doesn't have any touchdowns. I love targeting pass catchers earlier in the year that don't have any touchdowns. Another one is Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is tight end 8 right now. Doesn't have a single touchdown, but he's tight end 8. When you can target those guys that have been producing, have been getting the targets, been getting the yards, just been unlucky a couple weeks, it's a perfect time to try to pounce on those types of guys.
Yeah, agree 100%. Pounce.
Tiger.
This guy being so stewed over there.
Tiger King?
Oh, yeah, Tiger King over there. Look at that guy.
I'm never going to financially recover from this.
So we all agree, do not sell DJ Moore, but if there's any buy-in window whatsoever, buy. There's not many players, there's not many wide receivers in the NFL right now that I would want over DJ Moore in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Not many at all. I could probably have that list on 5 hands, like all those players. On
5 hands.
I get it.
There's 25 players.
Total rarity.
On the hand in a meat grinder.
So there was a tentative Teddy comment in there.
I was waiting for that.
And I glanced over it, so I just wanted to at least mention him.
Mention it. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about tentative Teddy. Hi, I'm Matt O'Hara. So, yeah, buy DJ Moore.
Why is Matt's voice a little girl?
Oh, that's why I interpreted it.
Oh, okay.
And we all know he's got a golden voice.
I was going to say he's got like the deepest voice out of all of us.
You should hear my family try to do my voice. I sound so stupid. I don't know what I don't like. I'm like, do I really sound like this? They're always like, hey, Dad.
Oh, tentative Teddy was because his name begins with a T, you pervert.
Anytime my sister tries to imitate my dad, it's always a hillbilly for some reason. She's like, hey, y'all. I was like, why is Dad a hillbilly? I don't.
Is Dad from the South?
Yep.
I did not know
Alabama.
Yeah, all right.
Well, that's week 3. Going on to the Nerd episode, we'll talk a little bit about Justin Jefferson, a little Mike Williams, be a little J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
No. I already made my apology. I've moved on.
Hey, we all know when you come to Dynasty, we're spitting out all this info. Can't be right all the time. But
60% of the time, it works every time.
I feel like we're about 70%. Which is
there we go.
Yeah, better than the rest. Who are the rest? Don't know, but better than them.
Better than them, suckers.
Be back next week, Nerd Herd.
Adios.
In the meantime, make sure you check. Look at you prematurely adios and over
Look at
there.
you talking over him. Go, Matt.
Adios. Let's end this thing.
Make sure you check out the
Stick it to the
Dynasty
man.
Facebook page. We have 9,500 people on there talking Dynasty Fantasy Football on a daily basis.
Almost 10K.
Dude, you got to get the Dynasty Nerds Facebook page. It's the only way you should be using Facebook, honestly. It's the only thing I use Facebook for. That and to dislike all my friends' political views. Make sure you check out us on Twitter. I'm at Dynasty Rich.
I'm at Dynasty Matt.
I'm at Dynasty Price.
Sites at Dynasty Nerds. Make sure you check out the Dynasty Nerds. If you haven't tried the GM tool, because you've been waiting, now's the time. Week 3. See who's strong, see who's weak. It's free to try. Go to dynastynerds.com. Sign up for the Dynasty GM. There's no strings attached to this. There's no credit card information you got put in. It's literally you sign up and you get it for 3 days for free. You'll love it so much.
Check it out.
You'll convert.
Exactly.
Convert. Be a converter.
There you go.
What does that do in your car? Converter.
Catalytic converters.
Catalytic converter.
Catalytic what?
Exactly.
Ask the Tiger King. He's all about catalytics.
Do the math.
Come on, meow.
Catalytics.
Adios.